Well, hello there. We are in central London in an undisclosed location with my very good voiceover pal, Lewis Macleod. Lewis, hello.
Hey, Peter, how are you?
Oh, well, good. I love hanging out with you.
Likewise. It's good to be back with you, Peter. A panjandrum of voice.
You just can't help yourself sometimes, can you?
Yeah, it's quite difficult.
So, we're talking about the VO business in general. So tell me, let's go back to the very beginning. When did you first start working as a pro voiceover? When did somebody pay you?
Oh, when did they pay me?
Yeah.
That would probably be about 1987. My father had paid for a commercial on a Radio Clyde ad for my other brother's band. And I was 15 when I did that, and I kind of got the bug then, and I think it was about another couple of years later.
Yeah. And did you go through any formal training, or did you just kind of teach yourself how to do it and get into the business?
No, I didn't have any training at all. I never went to drama school. I watched a lot of mimics, you know, like Kenny Everett, Rory Bremner, people like that, and sort of studied how they did it.
I think that's the key, though, isn't it? Is actually observing not just other mimics, but observing people in general. Exactly. I know that when I'm out and about, I sometimes, and I know you feel exactly the same way, I hear voices in the street or on a bus, and that's why I love going on public transport, because you can actually hear, people's voice.
He does loads of characters. We have got these old men that we do. You know, son?
Yes, right, sir. We'll not tell you this now. No, listen, no. We could do this all day long. So you had no formal training at all?
No, none at all. And I kind of regret that as well. I think I would have really benefited going to drama school, I think.
It's always nice to say you went to RADA, isn't it? And I didn't.
Or the Conservatoire, as it's now known in Glasgow.
And when did it become clear to you that character acting was your forte?
Well, I've always enjoyed mimicry, but to take it out of being an impersonation and just sort of try different tones in a voice, I always thoroughly enjoyed. Plus, we've got a lot of acting in our family. My cousin's an actress. She married an actor, and my father's sister teaches Shakespeare in Alabama, and she's very good, Fiona Macleod.
And if you were kind of to get technical about it, I know it's not always easy to analyse what we do, but people always ask me, you know, how do you go about developing a character? If you were to break it down, if indeed you do, into its constituent parts and analyse how you do it, could you just explain how you go about doing that, or what the elements are?
Yeah, well, you've got some really interesting thoughts about, you know, placing the voice and things like that, and I never really did that. You know, when somebody said, oh, you're the registered diaphragm and breathing, I think all these things are vital, but I first of all just get an impersonation, and then from that I distill it down into I suppose it's like avenues. Well, okay, well, let's try a regional accent on it then. So take the note of the voice.
I'm just trying to think of, okay, so somebody like Jon Snow, Channel 4 News, that very easily then becomes somebody like Brian Cox. So you take the tone and you can lower the register, maybe make it slightly gruffer. And
you have generic voices that we'll do. So if you're saying like a barrister, age, getting these details about how old they are, where they're from. Some people like to really physically get into the shape of the voice and, you know, actually affect their physical.
Yeah, so that's an interesting idea. Is that in order to create a vocal, because we work as non-visual artists, so to create the sound, I often find it helps to physically adopt the posture of the person. So if you're doing an old man, as we sometimes do, well, actually, you start to look a bit, put your mouth into that position there. That's right, son.
That's right, son. I'm doing an old man. I always say to myself, take your time. You're not in any hurry, son.
Take your time. It's all the time in the world.
And a wee bit of drool in the side of your face helps as well. I think it helps to drool.
Well, you do drool a lot, I have noticed.
All the time. Spitting. Oh, people jump over their chairs.
Well, I tried to analyse it myself, and I broke it down into 4 constituent elements: pitch, age, accent, and defect. So if you can, first of all, you find the pitch of the character, then you age it, accent, and then you put a defect in, like a lisp or some sort of slurring or a wobble in the voice. So you can create unlimited numbers of characters just by varying those 4 elements.
See, I think that's great, and to layer these elements really helps. When I was working on a Radio 4 show called Millport back in 2002, I was cast this character who only had 2 words to say, and I. And Lynn Ferguson, who'd written it and was starring in it, said to me that, she said, and I always remember, she said, ostensibly, he's the cleverest character in the piece. And I burst out laughing, and I thought, how can a guy who's only got 2 words, be clever. And so I played them as a bit of an idiot, you know. Aye. And she didn't like this at all. She recast me.
Oh, no.
Which was, it was horrible. But then she took me aside and she said, you're not getting the tune of the voice. And that was the first time I'd ever heard about this thing, about musicality.
Oh, the musicality in the voice, yes.
So that's one thing I definitely do is now, I find a sound at the voice, if it was an impersonation, or Obama, or you know, notes, you know, you literally find a musical note in the shape of that. Well, I suppose it's like a synthesizer. You find the frequency that they make.
And how do you do that? It's the placement of the voice, because
to be honest, it's a strange old thing, the voice.
Well, let's just take Obama as a good example.
Yeah.
Where you seem to be placing that sound in the upper nasal cavities.
I think it's probably in the upper middle, this palate here. I don't know what that's called, but the tune.
It seems to be coming from here as well. This area.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It could be. It's the weirdest thing because I actually don't know. I mean, I used to think that if I was doing people like Billy Connolly, immediately I'd tilt the head back and sort of, you know, and that also helps for David Attenborough. Not so good for television because all your voices are like that. Also works for a T-Rex. And that's Donald Trump. Look at my tiny dino hands.
He's off now. Well, you've of course, had a terrific career, and it's not over by any means. You know, you're still working every day, but. To go back to the early days, you had a really great break early on in your career with George Lucas, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. Well, I was in my mid-20s, but, you know, it was still one of those dream jobs, you know, like to get Star Wars. You know, you'd pay them to get a part in that film. Yeah, that was the Phantom Menace, where it was Sebulba. And that voice was... There were 2 voices for that. There was the Chota, which was very gravelly, and you can't speak for very long because it hurts your throat. But then when you were in the race, it was a pod race sequence in the Phantom Menace, so there was a lot of audio behind it, and he had this sort of diesel, you know, orange pod racer, and they had his shouting voice, and I had to sort of run it past him. I said, look, George, there's no way you can project your voice talking like this. And he said, yeah, that's fine. You know, give him a little bit more. And so so they just sort of bedded into all the atmosphere of these crowds and the machines and stuff.
And you still go to these conventions, don't you? You still go along.
I avoided them at the start. I thought, well, I just had a thing about, you know, charging kids money for photos, you know, 20 quid and things like that. But and some of them are, you know, the more famous they are, you do find it's quite a marketplace that you're all sort of sitting there.
So now I've got a nice wee price. 50p. There you go, sir.
How much do you charge for a selfie?
I said, no, they're free. But, I regret not doing them because I could have travelled the world and I was single. But so I'm catching up.
Now, one of the other characters you perform, very famous, of course, Postman Pat, is, worldwide favourite. And
yeah,
you're still doing that?
We are. The Pat's, the last series was just locked. I don't know what you call it.
Simon Greenall's just arrived there. Look at that. Here he is. Hello.
Lovely red trousers. Very brave.
Yeah, Postman Pat, we finished in March, and this being September, so yeah, it's coming back for another series, but I'm not sure they'll commission another one. I don't know. I mean, that's 2008.
You do several characters in that, do you?
Yeah.
I'm Alf the farmer. Hello. Hello, Pat. That's some potato cordial.
Yes, let's have another glass of that, Pat.
And Ben Taylor, who's in charge of the depot, who's that guy who sits and, you know, I noticed, Pat, you're doing 31 miles an hour. You really need to slow down. Shut up, Ben.
And unusually, you also, because you've got such fantastic range, you also do some brilliant female characters as well.
Kirsty Warwick, thank you for joining. I think she sounds like a jet ski sometimes. So let's go back. Thank you, Boris Johnson. It's all about the piping in my trousers.
And I also love your American billionaire-esque.
Oh, that's Connie. Well, yes. Well, thank you so much. It was great. We had a wonderful display. The paintings were very... She sold for $280,000.
Was this at the Guggenheim?
Marcia Guggenheim is her friend, and they run a gallery together. And we make so much commission on the paintings, it's ridiculous. I never thought we'd make 10 million, but you never know.
I love that character. You should do that one, as it. You should do a one-woman show.
It's I've got the moops for
You'd have to shave.
Yeah.
Or you could do a Conchita.
There's a, what's her name? It's Sat Nav Woman, that's basically what that's based on.
Well, listen, it's been great talking to you. Just one final thing I want to ask you about, and this is a question that a lot of people want to know. Do you have any advice for people breaking into the industry or people just at the bottom rung of the ladder?
Don't
bother.
It's too crowded. Fuck off.
Thank you so much for joining us. Lewis Macleod, ladies and gentlemen, a one-off. Thank God.